Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting, January 4th through 12th. The opening prayer will be from Pastor Roger Gilbert. Please.
You know, I just got back to my office after 10 days being away, and I needed motivation to go back to work. And I found it somewhere. I hope you guys have the motivation too for another hard year and a good year. The reason you guys are here is to make this town a better place, and I think you do that. So thank you for your service. You do great. Heavenly Father, we thank you for hard work that it takes to run a town, but we thank you for men and women who are here dedicated for that service. I pray, God, that you would be with us and you'd guide us, you'd help us be humble and gentle, help us to listen. Lord, point out the things that are wrong in our own arguments and help us to understand all that comes before us. May you bless this council with wisdom, with courage, and with gentleness, and may we be a town that shines. And we thank you, God, for all these opportunities. Pray for your blessing tonight. Amen.
Thank you. There's no public hearing and adoption of the agenda, and there's any additions or deletions?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Wyman?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Best?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Field?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Rainbow?
Nothing from Your Worship. Administration of one there.
Administration of one?
Deletion.
Pardon me? No.
Oh, okay.
We're moving forward.
Your Worship, I would move to accept.
No, just a minute. We're moving forward. Are we not?
Your Worship, can we move item 8.1 up to 5.1, please?
Okay. Looking for motion of it.
Your Worship, I would move to accept the agenda as amended.
All in favor? Carried. Previous minutes, 4-1.
Your Worship, I move that the Council adopted December 21st, 2011 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented.
All in the motion, all in favor? Carried. 4-2.
Your Worship, I would move that Council adopt the December 21st, 2011 regular Council meeting minutes as presented.
You all heard the motion? All in favor? Carried. 5-1. Welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The reason why I have a person next to me is this is our new development officer, and I wanted to introduce him to council. Unfortunately, Councillor Hamilton is not here, but I'm sure Imai Welch will meet him in the near future. So I just wanted to introduce Imai to the council as well as his worship.
Welcome. You love working here.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
Sorry, for this specific item, we are required under the Municipal Government Act, Section 657, to bring any extension requests for subdivision endorsement. Basically what's happened is that a subdivision application was done and there was an approval and a decision made on it. However, the applicant has not had the opportunity to complete all of the conditions within 12 months. We have done the approval, and their approval period time will expire in March of this year. As a result, what they did was they asked for an extension, and council can approve that for a year. However, all they asked for was to the end of this period, this year of 2012. So that's why this item is presented to you today.
And you have no problem with it?
No, I don't.
Okay. You're looking for a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that Council provide extension of subdivision 10/S-007 to the prescribed date of December 13th, 2012.
That's correct.
Correct date.
Is there a time limit on the extension or no?
That is the new extension period that they
Okay. All right. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
highway realignment, Councillor Hal Lust, if you could come forward, I understand you're the speaker. And I want to mention before, there will be only one speaker tonight. If you got something to say that you want to say to, for help to say to us, could you, maybe we could take a 5-minute break if anybody want to show their hands and have a discussion with Hal about that. He's something that you'd like him to speak to. If not, we'll only Hal to speak tonight, okay? And then, so nobody's going to have anything to say. If you want to talk to Hal, but we'll give you a break and, okay? Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just let you on Good evening, your worship and council. Belated New Year's greetings to all of you. For those of you who I have not yet had the privilege to meet, my name is Hal Lust. I am the owner and have operated Strathmore Motors since 1978, coming up 34 years in May of 2012. I know there are people here tonight that think that only Hal Lust and 2 or 3 others in town are opposed to this relocation. But I can assure you that there are 30 or 40 of us in this room tonight, and many others who didn't show up, who are just as concerned about the future of this town as I am. Most of us here tonight are local merchants, investors, farmers, landowners, who are concerned about council's feeling regarding the highway. Some councillors assure us that they are acting in the best interests of the town by supporting the relocation of this major artery. They claim the effect on our local economy will be minimal when the highway is moved, and that in 20 or 30 years, after the highway is moved, we might possibly see 2,000 or so people working in businesses that will probably reestablish themselves on the new route. This could be true, but right now, this is pure speculation. Transition is going to be rough on this town if the relocation goes ahead. I spoke to one retired person recently who told me that if the highway is moved, pedestrian traffic would be indeed easier because he would not have to cross that busy highway on his way to coffee each morning at Tim Horton. He was obviously in favor of moving the highway. The merchants, farmers, investors, and landowners who are here tonight stand to lose the most if the highway is moved. As merchants, we do not look down the road 20 or 30 years from now because we have businesses to run now, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. 20 or 30 years down the road to us is pie in the sky. We base our fears on facts, not speculation. If the majority of council believes that this relocation will hardly be noticed in the local economy, we must remind them again that Vegreville, for example, had 9 service-based industries on their highway prior to rerouting. Now they have 1, according to reliable sources. Brooks had 8 or 9 thriving service-based industry businesses before relocation. They now have 2. Milk River had 9 or 10 businesses before relocation. They now have 0. I don't think any of these towns had 50% of their workforce on those highways before relocation, like we do. These towns probably will have redevelopment in the years to come, but in the meantime, in the shorter term, many jobs they had in hand are gone forever. This is our concern. The facts stand for themselves, gentlemen. Merchants and farmers, by and large, deal with short-term problems. And this gentleman, on a long-term basis, is a disaster for us. The majority of council, on the other hand, seems to side with the Department of Highways, who have somehow convinced them that this relocation is a good thing for Strathmore on a long term. And therein lies the problem. short-term versus long-term. Most of us here tonight are here because nobody wants to talk to us, even though we will stand to lose the most if the highway is relocated. Town council or the Department of Highways have not sent any of us, to my knowledge, a message saying, we would like to meet with you folks who will be most affected by our plans, or, since you are the most affected, we think you have a right to be heard. We would like to meet with you. We would like to hear your alternative. Not a word from either. It is still our contention that we do not need 4 lanes each way, as former Transport Minister Ouellette recommended. We base the conclusion that we do not need 4 lanes each way for several reasons. 1, the volume forecasts presented to us by the Department of Highways are vague and probably not accurate. It seems to us that the Department of Highway doesn't know what the traffic volumes will be in the next 30 to 50 to 100 years any more than we do. Nobody has a crystal ball. The DOH plans to upgrade the 901 and the 22X in the future. As Calgary continues to grow, we know that more and more upgraded roads in the city will be needed from the east. We do not know what impact this upgrading will have on traffic volume through Strathmore, but I am sure it will rob us of some traffic. Number 3, the amount of road work that is being done on the Glenmore Trail right now indicates to me that this route, after its upgrade and extension, will also rob some traffic from Strathmore down the road. Number 4, daily commuter traffic between Strathmore and Calgary is quite substantial, and I think the Department of Highways is using this increase of traffic by over 5,000 vehicles daily on the west side of town to Calgary as an inflated figure to convince us that we need a bypass. Other solutions can be found to accommodate this heavier westbound traffic, and we will discuss that later. Logic and history, not rocket science, will tell you that if you remove a highway from in front of commercial outlets, those commercial outlets will suffer. Merchants are on the highway with easy exits leading right to their doors because this is actually the best place for them to be. People familiar with the transport industry will tell you that most traffic engineers today claim that all problems related to traffic can be solved by adding more lanes. Despite global concerns about greenhouse gases, ever-encroaching carbon footprints, the destruction of local wildlife habitat, and the destruction of valuable and productive farmland. There are people out there who have engineering backgrounds, people who are more knowledgeable than I am in these areas, who have completed preliminary studies based on the information given to us by the Department of Highways in November at their open house, and their results seem to indicate that the traffic volumes through Strathmore for the next 100 years will probably remain static or decrease. Because of added routes into the city from the east, higher fuel costs, and an improved public transportation system, which will surely come about as Strathmore continues to grow, and since the government has now deregulated bus routes in Alberta. I am not a traffic engineer, but after attending last November's open house, I am convinced that with proper planning, the highway should stay where it is, because too many questions I had related to traffic volume projections for now and the next 100 years were not answered. People who attended with engineering backgrounds, whom I have spoken to since the open house, have told me that current traffic volumes and projected traffic volumes for the next 100 years were at best vague. And the Department of Highway engineers attending could not or would not answer many questions related to these volume projections and on many occasions answered pointed questions with, "I have no information on that." One learned engineer told me there was no way the Department of Highway traffic volume projection for the next 100 years could support such an enormously expensive undertaking at the taxpayer's expense. Questions I felt should have been answered concerning the 22X and the 901 between Highway 797 and 842 were not. How will this affect Strathmore, and what is the time frame? With regards to commuters traveling to the city, it appears that about 5,500 vehicles travel daily from Strathmore to Calgary and back. This is based on a 2008 study. Since government deregulation of bus service, Greyhound lines no longer have a monopoly on bus service between many points, and this might open the door for local entrepreneurs to increase public transportation availability between Strathmore and Calgary. In an effort to reduce these 5,500 daily trips, the Alberta government, you would think in today's climate of greenhouse gases, the government of Alberta would be interested in reducing these pollutants and might be prepared to subsidize such entrepreneurs, especially at the outset. These are points that I plan to raise with our new Minister of Highways, Mr. Danielek, when we meet with him, hopefully, later this year. When explaining our local predicament regarding the highway to a friend of mine who spent the first 25 years of his life in a communist regime, he jokingly went on to say that it is easier under a communist regime to pull a rug out from under state-owned farms and state-owned businesses after years of operation, because the individual has no right to own a business or a farm in the first place. And he went on to say that if he didn't know any better, he would think he was back in operation. I know that it must be difficult for the mayor and council to balance short-term, long-term planning. It appears to us that the majority of council unanimously backs the Department of Highways carte blanche without any consultation with local groups. We respectfully caution mayor and council not to accept as gospel the Department of Highways' long-term plans before meetings such as this with locals who feel that mayor and council should unanimously support what is good for the town on a short-term basis, or to keep the highway in its present corridor. As a business community, it just makes good sense to support the jobs we now have in hand. As they say, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. We have a very fragile based service economy in town now. And a quick drive around town, taking note of the increasing numbers of empty shops, will confirm this. Some businesses out there on the highway will have difficulty surviving the construction phase if this relocation is approved. Some people believe that our group is trying to convince people that we will lose 100% of the 1,500 jobs that now exist on the highway. I repeat that. Some people believe that our group is trying to convince people that we will lose 100% or all of the 1,500 jobs that now exist on the highway. This was never our intention. Some small businesses run on a profit margin of 10%. This boils down to roughly 2.5 to 4% return on sales. For example, if you sell $500,000 worth of gasoline or rooms or food in 1 year, you might have $15,000 left in your jeans, depending on how tight a ship you run, after you factor in overheads such as rent, employee wages, utilities, property, maintenance, bank interest, vacation pay, UI premiums, federal and provincial tax payable. Most small businesses on the highway claim that 10 to 20% of their trade comes off the highway. And other businesses claim that up to 40% of their trade comes in off the highway during the spring and summer months. The point we're trying to make is that if we lose even 10% of the highway traffic, some of these businesses are going to be in trouble. 10%, gentlemen, that's all it takes sometimes in a small business to shut it down. If you want confirmation of these numbers, there's a bunch of guys out there on the highway that are merchants that would love to talk to you. I know sometimes you feel that we make 100% on everything we sell, but it ain't so. Strathmore is unique in that we are a town of 13,000 people with 50% of its workforce on the highway. 50% of a workforce in any town or city is substantial and cannot be ignored. And again I say, cannot, in all good conscience, cannot be ignored nor threatened. We are fortunate to currently have a mayor and council that are aggressively seeking light industry to establish here, and we think it is admirable on their part. Given its proximity to a large center like Calgary, Strathmore should have by now an established service-based industry and a much larger light industry base than we now have. I feel personally that councils of the past were a major stumbling block in the establishment of commercial development in Strathmore. Time after time we watched potential newcomers who were anxious not to locate in Calgary, pull up stakes and wind up primarily in Airdrie because of rules and regulations imposed by our past mayor and council, and or a better deal was offered by a united and aggressive Airdrie mayor and council. Time and time again, we watched as past mayor and council insisted on personal likes and dislikes and personal priorities stand in the way of progress in our town, because mayor and council of the past were never able to come up with a short-term, long-term plan that worked for the benefit of all parties concerned. Please, gentlemen, we beg you, don't repeat these mistakes. Don't repeat the errors of the past. Given the delicacy of the situation, our current mayor and council are doing what they believe is best for our town. We find the current mayor and council much more progressive than we've ever had in the past and much more aggressive in the pursuit of attracting light industry into town. For this, as I have said before, we applaud them all. As a group of farmers, investors, landowners, business owners, and operators, we also feel that if we work with mayor and council and the Department of Highways, much can be achieved in the way of open, frank, and focused discussions on alternatives and possible solutions to the long-term, short-term needs of all parties concerned, and thus break the impasse which now divides us. To this end, we have asked our MLA, Mr. Dirksen, to invite our new Minister of Highways, Mr. Daniluk, to attend a meeting later this winter or spring. We have not heard back from Mr. Dirksen as to a date, but we understand that Mr. Daniluk is aware of our situation and may be receptive to our concerns. Hopefully, such a meeting will resolve this issue, as the present impasse is not good for our town or nearby affected farmers, now or in the future. Before I go, I'd like to share some Strathmore highway history with you. Back in the 80s, plans were set down by the Department of Highways to twin the highway through Strathmore. This was okay with everybody, until it was disclosed to us that no exits into town were planned except at Leroy's Motel, the Husky, and at the base of the hill on the west side of town. This alarmed us for good reason, for we thought that we needed to keep the exits which already existed in front of Strathmore Motors in the west and in front of what is now Napa on the east. There were, to the best of my recollection, about 15 businesses on the highway then, and we all feared what impact this would have on us. 7 or 8 of us formed a committee And we held many meetings with DOH, with the Department of Highways over the next 9 months. Most of the meetings were heated, some were bitter. And one meeting, I remember, on a cold February night, nearly turned violent. The Department of Highways was determined to take us off the highway entirely, and we were determined to keep those exits open. At this time, there was only one Texaco station, now Esso, on the south side of the highway. So all of the arguments we had concerning exits leading into town were in the westbound lane. I remember one of the Department of Highways engineers saying something along these lines. The south side is not important to us in these discussions because we are going to leave lots of right-of-way on the south side to accommodate future traffic growth on the long term. We were delighted and thought that we had helped to solve the highway dilemma for all time. Because as one committee member noted, there's enough room now through town to Lando 747. To us, it meant there would eventually be controlled development on the south side between the Wheatland Trail and Leroy's Motel, not extending further north than the present location of the WID offices, Canadian Tire, and No Frills. In other words, no development north of the service road that now runs through that part of town. We were stabbed in the back by these very same government people, as it turns out. Later, years later, we also learned they planned to move the intersection in front of Leroy's to a location somewhat east of Leroy. At about the same time, development was permitted by the Department of Highways and Town Council north of the WID, and the intersection was not moved. At many more of the meetings we held, we were threatened and bullied constantly by the Department of Highways. We were called greedy SOBs, among other names which I will not repeat here. Later, when the Department of Highways relented to our demands, I was confronted personally by a member of Town Council who said that the first traffic death at one of those new exits, and all we were asking for was 2 additional exits. And the first traffic death at one of these exits would be on my head. I took it seriously. It put me back on my heels. And each day for months, I prayed to God that there would be no deaths because of our actions. 3 members of that original group of 7 or 8 have since passed on, and I always thought they should have a street or an avenue in town named after them for all the volunteer good work they did on behalf of this town. In hindsight, our little group of 7 or 8 of long ago, unknowingly, laid the groundwork for much of the commercial development on the highway that we see today. We did not have a crystal ball. Our only objective was to keep the existing 2 exits open, and we did not bend on that issue. We stood our ground at what seemed to be immovable odds at the time. The Department of Highways was wrong then, they flip-flopped then, and they are wrong now. Their tactics have not changed. They still threaten and bully small communities. Mayor and Council, we humbly ask that you do not repeat the mistakes of past councils. Do not look only at what they put on the table. Let us together revisit traffic counts and with professional help try to better predict them, because only then can we truly assess the need or the lack of need for this extremely expensive bypass. Perhaps then, by working as one local group, we can find a solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lutz, could you submit a copy of that if you could to administration? Any questions by council?
Yes.
Right. Councillor,
Yes.
do you want to do the map first?
Yes, if I can.
Yeah.
Good. Can you put those up a little? Good. Now, your worship, what I wanted to do tonight, I wanted to put 3 items up here on the board so we could talk about it. Keep going. This one, okay. I was asked to briefly discuss this one, and I've got copies here for anybody who wants a copy afterwards. When Alberta Transportation first came to us, after a lot of discussions and meetings, they had a proposal here that all of us disagreed with. It went way too far south, and we were quite opposed to it. All of council were. Then, you go to the next sheet, the no bypass one that they came up with shows, it's hard to see on there, I guess, let me just read some of those. This is from them, not us. Significant property and business impacts, noise and acoustic issues associated with 110 kilometers per hour. They're saying that the highway through town would have to be 110 kilometers per hour. Well, anyway, that's ridiculous. We couldn't live with that. Traffic circulation on and on. But anyway, if you look down at the chart that they've got down there, and it's hard to see, but I've got copies for you, is that their proposal would have taken out a lot of the businesses along the highway. For example, it would have taken out the Husky, the Strathmore Station, the Travel Lodge, several along there. And then on the south side of the highway, it would have taken out from No Frills Gas all the way through to McDonald's, all those businesses south. And the right-of-way they wanted through there on their plan was 100 meters, which is, what, 330 feet roughly. And then they wanted a service road north of that as well. And the service road's about 20 meters. And then with the divider between it, a little bit of a divider between the highway and the service road, they're looking at 130 meters. They don't show a service road on the south side of the highway, only on the north side for some reason. So anyway, as far as I'm concerned, that's awful. You couldn't, that would really destroy things. If you go to the next picture, the current proposal that they have, and you've probably all seen this one, is that it starts west town, dips down just below the town pivot fields on the east side of town, and then up to the east of Donnie Knight's property up there. Also, on 817 down there, it shows flyover, bypass, whatever you want to call it. And anyway, that's their last proposal that they've shown to us. And those that went to the various open houses would have seen all these, of course. So I've got copies for you, and if there's any questions from council, I'll try and answer.
Councillor Rumble?
No, I got to the chair, I got a question for Mr. Lutz. And I would like to see the highways run through town as well. How would you keep the highway running through town at 110 kilometers per hour without any off ramps? No way to get off the highway. How good would that be for business?
Well, it was, sorry, with 4 lanes each way.
Okay, 2 lanes each way.
Yeah, 2 lanes each way.
They have never, that's another thing, they have never said that they were going to put 4-lane highway through Strathmore, or 4 lanes on each side. All they said was that they're, when they buy more land, they're going to get enough right of way so that they can expand to 4 lanes if the need ever arises. They've never said that they're going to put a 4-lane highway going east and a 4-lane highway going west through Strathmore or anywhere in this area. First of all, all the overpasses between here and Calgary won't allow for that. So, that's a moot point. And the other thing is, as you well know, Strathmore, Highway 1 is becoming a freeway. And the speed limit through Strathmore is going to be 110 kilometers per hour. How do you expect people to do business along the highway when we have 110 kilometer per hour traffic coming through town?
To answer the first part of your question, Mr. Roulette told me personally, on the back of the pizza box of all things, in the station restaurant, one July afternoon, and I should have kept the pizza box, that the Department of Highways had planned a 4-lane highway in each direction through this town.
Right.
And I said to him, what are we going to do when we get to Calgary? And it's suddenly 2 lanes. He said, eventually it'll be 4 lanes all the way through Calgary. The second part of your question, if they kept it at 2 lanes each way as it is now, there is room to put service road, adequate service road in.
How are they going to get off the highway?
On exits.
Where?
In different places where they are now.
And back on.
It can be done. I'm not an engineer.
Me either,
But I recommend, to the last part of my speech here, I recommend that we get together and hire, I've talked to engineers, John, or Mr. Reppel. I've talked to people that are professionals in the area of traffic engineering, and they say it's easy. It's easy. Why suddenly does the Department of Highways make it so difficult? And I'll tell you what, because it's a federally initiated program. It's the #1 highway. And we have heard, all of us have heard before, that the federal government is paying for this, and they leave it to the provinces to maintain and build. And they don't care how much it costs or the problems involved, because the initiative comes from Ottawa.
Well, okay, now, listening to your, I don't know, whatever, 30-minute presentation, whatever it was, I got the impression numerous times that this was council of the day that is making this decision. Strathmore Council has nothing to do with this decision. It is made by Alberta Transportation. We haven't had any, like they told us that Highway 1 is going to become a freeway through Alberta, and they've given us options.
Yeah.
And we support this last option that they presented, and they have also told us and everybody that came to the open houses, and everybody had an opportunity to speak with them there, that this was their last and final option.
Councilor Fuel?
Councillor, if I can answer.
Okay, sorry.
Councillor Russell, question. I think that if we organize as a local group and agree on things and get engineering, get professional help to show us how. I have 2 engineers who would come in now that seem to have the answer. They tell us that based on what they were given at the open house last November, that traffic in this town is actually going to decrease in the next 100 years for the reasons I stated.
You think that they're going to dispute what McElhaney are telling them?
Yes?
No, they're not.
Well, if they're not traffic engineers, they won't, because they won't get a job. But if they're not traffic engineers, there might be a chance.
There's not a chance.
Something else I want to remember, something else I want you to remember. If you think that these things are written in stone, or any of you think that things that come from the Department of Highways is written in stone, think of our experience of 25 or 30 years ago, when 8 of us stood our ground and said, no, 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 you're not going to do this. You're not going to kill this town. And as soon as they realized after 8 or 9 months of meetings and arguments, threats, and the like, they finally reneged. Everybody thought at the time, this is written in stone. The highway then was a federal initiative, as it is today. It hasn't changed.
Well, I'll tell you what.
But they did change, and they reneged. When they had a group of 8 of locals stand in their way and say, no, we're not going to do this.
You know what they'll do? They'll say, we don't need to argue with Strathmore. We'll go back to Plan A.
Well,
That's 4 miles south of west of Strathmore. and we'll just isolate them. That's what will happen.
It could
And
be.
then you can thank your lucky stars.
I don't think it'll happen.
Don't.
Councilor Fuel,
I
Please.
just wanted to make a point to Mr. Lust that we as councillors are supposed to have an open mind on every issue. So it bothers me that you think we've already made up our decisions or made up our minds, because a lot of us haven't. We want to listen to everything, and your presentation was really good. I listened to it. I understand what you're trying to say. And I understand that you would like to keep the Trans-Canada in its location at the speed it is, and that we necessarily shouldn't just roll over to them and accept what's going to be what they say is going to happen. So you want us to have a loud voice and fight back the way you did years ago. But I just wanted you to make sure that we haven't all made up our minds, and it's been a heated discussion on our council too. So I just wanted to clarify that part, because we have not all made up our minds.
Councilor Best.
Yeah, I have a few things.
Thank you.
First off, you said that, they wouldn't come and meet with you, and yet they've had numerous open houses. If people wanted to go and talk to them and find out what's going on there, they had the perfect opportunity. They've had numerous open houses to do that with. You keep saying that we're going to have less traffic in 30 years. That's illogical. It's illogical. If we have all the developments that we have and the area structure plans from our town now, it's illogical to think the traffic is going to reduce. You mentioned that with the construction of the bypass would cause trouble for the businesses in town. I don't understand that, being as that it's going to be outside of town and it'll bring the workers into town for their lunches, meals, and shopping. And finally, you talk about the bypass will be bad, it'll kill our town, it'll make Highway 1, that street useless. Is that the case in Red Deer? Is Gates a dead street? Are the businesses growing on Gates Avenue? They certainly are. On the bypass itself, the small industry is now moving in great demand there. I don't see how you're saying that this is going to be so bad. Also, at both ends of that town, or both, what we could do on both ends of this town is create a gasoline alley. Now, that's going to bring people into the town as well. I think it's close to fear-mongering, what we're listening to.
First of all, in reply to the first part of your question, we are not so concerned about the people who come in, the workers who come in for lunch or coffee breaks from the new highway. That's the least of our worry. We're concerned about the tourist who no longer stops here because he does not see a sign that says a hotel, a popular hotel, or a popular restaurant, or a good place to buy gas as he goes through town. Convenience is a big thing to people on the highway that are traveling, tourists, business travelers, and so forth. These are the people that we're going to lose, because they will take an exit from Gleason or wherever, whenever that 901 and 22X is resolved, and they will go into the city, especially at the south end of the city, if they happen to be coming from the east. Those are the ones we're going to lose, probably. And your second part of your question, with regards to Red Deer. Red Deer is a city of, I would imagine, to be about 60 or 70,000 people. Gates Avenue, or downtown Red Deer, is the major thoroughfare through that city, like Main Street is to us. In our case, with a population of 13,000, our downtown is dying in favor of commercial enterprise on the highway. The only thing left downtown in Strathmore is lawyers, banks, accountants, and so on. We have 50% of our jobs out there on the highway. Red Deer, the number of jobs that are on the gasoline alley would probably not total 10% of Red Deer's total workforce. So the downtown will be more active. As a result, the city is bigger. There's more activity, more small business moving in. But the numbers of people that work on gasoline alley are few in number to what we would experience here if we lost the highway.
The number of people on Gates is substantially better.
Gates Avenue is the main drag through the city.
Which Highway 1, when we own that, would be as well.
Well, Highway 1, if we owned it, it might as well be from Shield to Glacier, because it can't hurt us more.
There was, Councillor Rebel?
I was just gonna say that, we're talking about 13,000 people now. We don't know how long this is gonna take before, this ever happens. And, I would think that we're gonna be probably twice the size, maybe 3 times the size that we are now by the time this ever is completed.
I guess my point is that we need to be proactive, not reactive.
We have no answer, Mr. Brown. I think that, yes, in time we will be 30 or 40,000. I might not see it because I turned 70 the other day, and I probably won't see it. But when you think down the road, the city of Calgary as it's growing now, it's only a matter of time till we have other major arteries going into that city from the east. It's just a matter of time. The Glenmore Trail, the 22X, the number 1, they'll all be major arteries going into the city. And if you're coming from the east and you approach Glacier or wherever you see cutoffs, that'll take you into the south end of the city on the 22X or on the Glenmore Trail into the central part of Calgary, we're going to lose a lot of that traffic. And it's not like Red Deer, where we have one main highway, and the number 2, that goes north and south with 4 times the traffic that we have on the number 1 currently going through.
The traffic that we're gonna lose are people that don't wanna stop here anyway.
Yes,
They
we're
just
going to
have
lose. Yes.
And Strathmore is big enough, we have enough people coming here, by the time that's finished, we have a lot of, the people that come to Strathmore come here for a reason. They come here to do business.
Some.
Well, what else they come here for?
Well, if you're a tourist and you're going through, and it's all about convenience.
What do we got for tourism here?
Well, we've got hotels, we've got gas stations.
And they'll still come. As a matter of fact, they might even be busier.
Well, I don't know if they'll be busy, they might be. But
Wouldn't you rather stay in a quiet community than in the city?
Pardon?
Wouldn't you rather stay in a quiet community in a hotel, in a nice hotel? All you need is some signage out on the highway.
Just a minute, folks, okay, let's not get out of hand here. We're dealing with a lot of hypotheticals here, and we're having a tough time.
That's a given.
Well, just a minute, Mr. Rebel. One at a time, okay?
I'm talking,
Well, I interrupted, I'm the chair.
so, okay, go ahead.
We're dealing with a lot of hypotheticals here, and we don't want to just get into it. You said, I said, and a lot of unknowns, and I respectfully say on both parties, on both sides, we're dealing with that, and we're gonna take all these factors into consideration. You know, we can argue back and forth and say this and say that, and let's get the unknowns before we be arguing here and not make any decisions. So I want to say that there's any question, councillors want to speak?
Yes, please. Actually, there's 2 areas. I just want to make sure we're on the same pathway here. I've only been in this town for approximately 10 years, but is it fair to say that the traffic on Highway 1 has increased a fair amount in the last 10 years?
No. Traffic has not increased, despite what the Department of Highway tells us.
And do you have any proof of that? Or
Yes.
could you,
We have an engineering study right now that proves that.
could we get a copy of that?
Yes.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you, and I just want to make sure I'm clear on your position on this. You're in favor of the highway remaining as it is without going to freeway status. Is that correct?
Yes.
You would be against going to freeway status?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Ryan, you got any comments?
Yeah, Your Worship, I'd like to commend Mr. Rust on an excellent presentation. I had a few notes written down over the weekend in anticipation of this for tonight. Just takes a couple of minutes to read it. Coffee shops are great places. I happen to have one. I don't know if I agree with you whether downtown's dying. Downtown's certainly gone through the transition, thanks to the highway development. Coffee shops are great places to find out people's and citizens' opinions. Regarding the highway bypass, half of the people that I talk to have no clue and don't care. Some 20% have some legit concerns. However, maybe that 20% don't know the options that are involved either. Again, and I've said it before, people are afraid of change. By keeping the Trans-Canada through town as it now exists makes absolutely no sense, especially with the heavy traffic flow going east to west or west to east. And probably a certain percentage of the vehicles don't even stop here in Strathmore to start with. To further that point, some businesses now operating on the south side of the highway support the bypass. And they can't wait for us to get on with that, as they feel they will be connected to the downtown side after it's done. The options of what the town of Strathmore can do with the existing Trans-Canada in town boundaries after this bypass is in place are endless to connecting both sides and promoting further highway commercial development. By supporting the bypass, we remove heavy traffic flow, mainly the trucks, and create a quieter, safer in-town road. Keeping in mind the options are still at both ends, east and west, if traffic so desires to come through. There is a downside to everything, I suppose, and I can feel for this. The downside is the land concerned that will be lost to bypass development, even though it is not inside town boundaries. These landowners are Strathmore's neighbors. They support, shop, frequent Strathmore businesses for the better of all of us in Strathmore. This is a very touchy issue, and I suppose a decision's going to have to come at some point in time, but I don't know if this is one of those decisions you can never satisfy 100% of the people 50% of the time, but I'm assuming at some point in time we will have to make a decision. And as Councillor Kuhl alluded, we're here to listen and take all the information in we can.
Thank you. There's no further comments.
Yes. One comment here. I agree with Mr. Luss. It would be ideal, perfect, the way I would like to see the highway is remain the way it is. The Alberta Conservation have told us that it's not going to happen. They've come up with a few alternatives, and this alternative that you see on the map is one that we have accepted, and that's we know that the highway is not going to stay the way it is at 60 kilometers per hour coming through Strathmore, with all the exits and entrances onto the highway.
Councillor Kuhl.
Well, until Mr. Lust spoke tonight, I had no idea there was a group of 7 or 8 who fought against the Trans-Canada and what it wanted to do, what the federal government, provincial government wanted to do. So with that in mind, I totally understand why you would feel that you should be able to be a strong voice and fight against this and keep it as a status quo. I really do understand that. And I don't think we necessarily have to accept that if we want to keep the Trans-Canada the way it is, that it's going to have to become a freeway of 110 kilometers an hour. And I'm starting to really understand that if we want to keep this the way it is, then people have to come forward like your group did and fight this. And I did not know your group did this, and I want to commend you for doing that. And your presentation has made me really think about a lot of things tonight, and I wanted to thank you for that.
In conclusion, I would like to say thank you very much, and I'd like to say also that I was involved in that. You probably forgot me then, but I was involved in that small group many, many years ago, and I do recall us changing the flow of the traffic while construction was going on, and that was a big thing, get the department to do that while the equipment was there. And that in itself is a feat to try and make the government do, especially with engineers and plans. By the way, I would like to reiterate one thing. There's been no motion put forward as to what we're doing yet anyway. So we say, Mr. Rambo, we haven't made a motion yet, and that's the bottom line. I really respect what you said also, and I mean myself think in a lot of different ways. Thank you very much for coming, folks, and it's been very informative. I also talked to Mr. Dirksen last night. He promised that the minister, please, folks, he promised the minister would be coming down within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm going to work on that diligently. So we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to me. One thing I want to add, if I can take a minute or two. The original group of 8, 3 of them have passed on. And I know.
I'm one of them.
No.
We're not sure yet.
I didn't mention any names because I knew that you were one of those, of the original 8. But Leroy has passed on, and Paul Whiteside has passed on, and I think Rick McLean, who had the Strathmore general store at the time, has passed on. And I think that if you fellows are looking for names for avenues or streets in town, those guys would be a good candidate. Because they worked hard.
We have a names committee that you can put their names into.
Jim Whiteley was.
Pardon?
Jim Whiteley.
You might be, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda.
Excuse me, did anybody want a copy?
Well, then, later.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. That's it.
Yep.
Worship, excuse me, did we get a copy of that engineering report? Pardon me? Oh, okay, sorry, that's where it is there, okay. I'm sorry, we're not getting a copy of that, Mr. Knight?
How's your report?
The engineering report?
I had some facts and figures that would be basic, the guys should know about. But obviously, we allowed one person to speak and didn't want to hear from anybody else.
I had been, just a minute, Mr. Knight. I had said to you that we'd take a 5-minute break.
How can I inform the man in 5 minutes of what all the
He's
facts
pretty
are?
informed about it all. You know that.
Thanks for knowing.
Next item on the agenda, Citizen of the Month. I would like to inform everybody that the
Go ahead.
Citizen of the Month is this. It's Mr. Harrison Gray. Ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow councilors, it gives me great pleasure to recognize this month's recipient of the Town of Strathmore Citizen Award. I've known this fine gentleman for many years, and he truly exemplifies the meaning of community spiritness through his generous support of numerous organizations within the town Strathmore area. Harrison Gray has been a long-time supporter of minor hockey, even coaching for a few years. He donated his time and equipment in building the pathway of Eagle Lake, as well as 2 greens on the Strathmore golf course. He was a major contributor to the planning and building of Kinsman Park. He planned and built Grace Park, and donated and built the Phyllis Gray outdoor basketball court at the Strathmore High School. Harrison also volunteered on numerous boards and committees, including being both a charter and lifetime member of the Kinsman Club. He volunteered as a board member for the Strathmore Golf Club and has supported many groups in Strathmore, Wheatland County area with numerous donations throughout the years. In his youth, Harrison played, and I emphasize the word played, junior hockey with the Edmonton Oil Kings and went to the Memorial Cup with Edmonton. He is one of only 2 people from Strathmore who made it to the NHL, playing about 2 years with the Great Red Wings. Remember, folks, at that time there was only 6 teams in the NHL. In 1970, Harrison came back to Strathmore to take over his father's business, which was started in 1947. Graves is one of the Strathmore's longest running businesses and was the first company to open in the Spruce Park Industrial Subdivision. Graves Limited is now run by Harrison's nephew, Greg McLean, but Harrison still works with Greg during the summer months. Well, that's forgettable. Congratulations, Harrison. We are proud to call you a citizen of You be a citizen of Strathmore. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in congratulating Mr. Harrison Gray as the January 12th recipient of the Town of Strathmore Citizens Award membership. I'd like to present you the solemn note plaque.
Where's the donation go? Thank you, sir.
Let's show it to them. They gotta show it.
Put it right up higher.
That's right.
In front of the big belly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Those are issues I'd rather deal with than the other one.
A good choice, Your Worship.
Yeah. Thank you. There's no bylaws. There's old business, no old business. Highway realignment. Thank you.
Is this me, Your Worship?
Yes.
Your Worship, in keeping with the idea that we want to keep an open mind and make sure we have all the information and respect people's opinions who come forward, I would like to move that Council accept the presentation tonight from Mr. Luster as information, and that Council direct administration to bring this issue of the highway realignment to the January 18th regular Council meeting for a decision from Council.
Thank you. Any discussion? You're making that as a motion?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Not? All in favor? Nothing from administration at this time. Committee and departmental reports. Mr. Redbull.
None in December.
Thank you. Mr. Fuel.
Almost all my committees had no meetings in December. The Ag Society had an annual general meeting. Two main issues came forward. They hope to sell some land to bring in revenue, and policies have been reevaluated, presented, and approved.
Thank you. Councilor Best.
We were void, my committee was void of meetings in December, and the first meeting will be tomorrow evening with Community Future Toronto.
Thank you. Councilor Rocky.
Your Worship, I had a handy bus meeting, but I was only able to attend for 15-20 minutes, so I don't have all the information ready.
Thank you.
It would appear that I got the short end of the stick in December. SWAT, Strathmore Wheatland Addiction Team, met on December 1st. We were introduced to Sarah McKinnon, who's a high school student and has been hired by SWAT on an hourly basis to collect statistics and conduct follow-up interviews of guardians of youths who have benefited by the positive ticketing campaign. Discussions were also had in regards to the new signage campaign which started on December 1st, 2011. To date, the two signs that bear messages pertaining to more positive lifestyles have been met with support, and once again, these signs will be changing on a monthly basis. There was a meeting at the Golf Course Arts and Recreation Foundation Committee. However, as that's on a council night, I was not able to attend, and I have not received minutes. Hope Bridges Society Community Arts Center feasibility also met on December 19th. After reviewing the document, that being the Strathmore Regional Community Arts Center feasibility study, and proposing some minimal changes, it's now headed back to RC Strategies for finalization. The hope is to have this document presented to Council for review in the near future by the board. And there was no meeting for Family Center Advisory Board, and this will be my last report on the centennial celebrations. To summarize, in October of 2010, a centennial committee was formed and made up of citizens, town employees, and 2 councillors. The goal of this committee was to plan a celebration for the town of Strathmore's 100th birthday, scheduled to take place on July 6, 2011. To fund this celebration, Council approved a budget in the amount of $60,000. After numerous meetings and discussions, 5 projects were decided upon. 3 of these projects are best described as community events, designed to take place in subsequent 4-month periods during 2011. The first was the Centennial Family Day celebration, which took place on February 21st. In total, this event cost $4,975.48. The second event was the Centennial July 2nd and 3rd Summer Celebrations, for which expenditures in the amount of $6,658.46 were incurred. The third and last event was the Strathmore Centennial Fall Gala. Although every effort was made to have this event break even, it actually came in at a net loss of $569.58. The fourth project, designated as a legacy effort, was a Heritage Times Square Park with clock located in downtown Strathmore. It had total expenses of $53,435.39. It is important to note that the vast majority of the labor for this park was donated, and it is estimated that the cost for a similar park built strictly by tradesmen would exceed $75,000. It should also be noted that this park captured the imagination, interest, and enthusiasm of many generous persons who donated not only their time, but a great deal of product, and material as well. The fifth and final project was a time capsule, which the committee ultimately decided should rest in its own personal container in Heritage Times Square, and is designed to be open every 25 years until the year 2111. The cement holder is covered by a plaque dedicated to the town's centennial celebration and to the people who made it successful. The cost for this item, including the plaque was $3,166.19. And I'm almost done. Because of the generosity of our citizens who volunteered their time and chose these projects to donate funds and materials to, the total costs for all centennial projects and events has resulted in a $12,997.99 surplus, and it is requested that these funds be returned to financial stabilization reserves. To be clear, expenses for all centennial activities used only $47,000 and $47,002.01 of the $60,000 budget provided by council. I want to extend a personal thank you to everyone who volunteered their time and services, and also those who took part in the events of a very special year. Thank you, Your Worship. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Yes.
I'd like to commend Councillor Sobel and Councillor Loughlin for all the time and effort you guys put in. I know it was a pet project of yours. The park has been amazing downtown. I've seen it used a lot, and I know, having just been on the committee for the Fall Gala, the hours that are put in by the people on the committee, so thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I also would like to say one thing, Your Worship, and that's, Councillor, that's an incredibly good report. I've been asked questions on that and now have proper and good answers for them. Thank you.
CRP, I just want to say that there's been no meetings, but just one by telephone and email that Crawford has pulled out as a member of CRP. I don't know the reasons why, so if the press asks you, none of us know. I'm certainly going to find out in the next week or two. And that's it for my report. Go ahead.
Worship, I have a long report.
Let's go ahead.
Normally it's short, but tonight it's long. And I'll give the meeting each a copy so they can make notes on it. Okay? It's my year-end report.
Uh-oh.
Of all the good things the council did. Okay. I'll try and skim read because it's too long here, but our building permits, we built 32 new single-family homes. Total building construction was almost 21 million. We had 744 business licenses. I'll give you all a copy if you want it afterwards. Town's affordable housing project. It's pretty neat. Out of the 48 units, 24 are ready for occupancy, 16 under construction, and it goes on. 21 to 24 built units are already occupied. And some of the ones under construction are already pre-sold. And that was our project that the town did with CCL. The affordable rental units right beside by Dr. Patel have turned out very well. They're rental units, some of us have been through them, and they're pretty nice units. 42 of the 56 units are already done. Up at Sagewood, Phase 2 was announced just recently, and Phase 2 consists of 30 extended care and 70 assisted living, making a total of 100 units. So they've got 100 units there now, plus this another 100 units. And they're hoping in the future to have a Phase 3, which would be another 100 units. So in time, that area should be just over 300 units. The grant that was given in December by the provincial government was $7.6 million. Another neat thing about up there, they're putting in a daycare. So in other words, people working there can bring their children to the daycare. It's an opportunity for the daycare children to meet with some of the seniors, and to me that's really neat, because the seniors get lonely, and if there's children that can come out, sit and visit with them, and so on, it helps make their day better. Three major area structure plans have been approved, including Wildflower, West Creek, and recently the Prairies, Brett Wilson's. We're currently reviewing additional 2 area structure plans. Edgefield structure plan contains 325 acres of land. And the Ranch Market. So across from Walmart, the Ranch Market will be doing commercial along the highway and residential north of that. The secondary structure plan being looked at is Lakeview Meadows, and that is up in the northwest part of town where the raw water reservoir was. And we've insisted that there 40 acres of that remain as a reservoir for stormwater. And it's a PUL, public utility lot, so we have control, we own it, we can put stormwater in whatever the town decides. Another thing that we're just getting ready to do, we did a new town brochure about a year ago, and traditionally over the years, we did 5,000 copies. Those 5,000 copies lasted 2.5 years. Anyway, I just checked a couple of days ago, and we've only got maybe about 300 copies left out of 5,000. So we've got to start doing a new town brochure again. I think it's neat that we're doing another one so quick. It'll be about a year when it comes out. And anyway, we can update the various items in there. The mayor can give a better speech in there this time. And I gotta have a joke or something. And
don't publish that, please.
and some new pictures. And anyway, we're gonna get started on that soon. I've been scribbling in the existing one when I have a few minutes of things I want to see changed. The town purchased 10 acres of land on the east side of Kinsman Park, and we intend to use most of that, not all of it, most of it for recreation purposes. In 2011, we completed Phase 2, 3, and 4, the Aquatic Center, which contains leisure pool, hot tub, water slide, and the multi-purpose room upstairs. Ridge Road was paved from Lakeside Boulevard through to the Husky, and that's turned out very good. They got it done before freeze up, and we're happy and lucky on that. The new potable water reservoir that we're building on the west side of town, we gave the engineering to Associated Engineering, and they're 50% complete on it already. Numerous paths have been paved and beautified. We did a lot of path work this year. Also, we did improvements along some of the highways. Trans-Canada, we tore out a bunch of old barbed wire fences to try and help beautify the town. And took out some old fences and replaced them and so on. The town purchased a lot of new playground equipment, and we put it into the various areas, and we replaced some of the existing. Up in Storm Pond 1, we built some forebays. And forebays is where the storm water comes in to a deep area, and then it settles, and then the water goes into Storm Pond 1, and then on down through the various storm ponds. The tree planting program was great this year. And additional trees that were not originally in this year's program were planted along Centennial Drive, formerly East Lake Road, at a very exceptional price. We got them very reasonable. The town continues to promote industrial land. We're promoting industrial land south of the highway that was owned by Trendsetter, trying to get more business in there. It's already serviced. It's got curb and gutter. It's nice over there, well designed. So we're promoting that. And then also, we're working on our own industrial park, about 582 acres. And that is light, medium, and heavy industrial. Strathmore Lakes Estates completed 2 parks this year. The first park they put back in onto the canal. That wasn't in their plans at all. It was not a requirement, but we asked them to do it, and they volunteered to put playground equipment in there. The other playground on Westmount Drive is pretty well finished, other than in the spring they have to landscape it and all. Last year the town purchased a 5-ton truck with a plow on it and a sander for more efficient snow clearing. With a 5-ton truck, you can move pretty fast to get the snow off, at least the majority of the top part, and then sometimes we have to go with the grade or whatever to get lower. We purchased a hazmat response trailer. In the past, if we had anything serious with hazmat, we would have to get a hold of Calgary and have them come out. But now we have our equipment to handle that. The town renegotiated a contract, garbage contract. It was tendered out and awarded for 3 years. The director of engineering, myself, and director of corporate services, mainly myself, spent multi-hours trying to renegotiate the major contract of EPCOR. We spent dozens and dozens of hours on that. We got approval to take our biosolids, and our biosolids are from our wastewater treatment plant. And we got approval to start taking those, hopefully this week, up to International Compost, just north of town. So instead of hauling it one time, we're hauling it way up north, and we took it to Penhold, and now we're going to be taking it just out of town, which saves us lots of money. We also did a memorandum of understanding with Earth Renew for long-term disposal of organics. Not only the biosolids, but our organics, our leaves and various items. So anyway, we're happy about that too. We successfully recovered the majority of the costs from when we had the big storm, like when there was 200 vehicles on the Clooney Hill stranded overnight. And so anyway, we got money back, and so we were able to give part of the money to Wheatland County, Wademza, and so forth. There was an upgrade of the town's rescue recovery boat with a new side sonar and radio equipment through the generous donations of a local developer. And that makes it so that the final sentence I got here, I'm jumping. With the new sonar equipment, the Strathmore Fire Department will have a better chance of having more rescues than recoveries. The community event sign on the highway, I talked to Craig, our IT person, and the software came in today. He's got it on his desk, and he's hoping within a couple of weeks, but the latest, the end of the month, It'll be up and running. It's a better sign, should be easier to read. It's about 2 feet high and quite long, and according to our IT person, it'll be much easier to read. I'm getting ready now. Okay. Another major thing we did is our treatment effluent line was taken half a dozen years ago to take it down to the secondary channel. And we received some flack, we got approval, we finally got through that. This past year, what we did is, we came back on top of the hill, several hundred yards, and then we went down an old road right away, went right to the Bow River, and we put our treated effluent, and it's treated, right into the Bow River. So that's ideal now, and that was a big major project. We're also currently negotiating on a major sewer line up the east side of town and the north side of town, so that development can happen across the top and across the east part. And it's amazing how many developers are out here serious and want to develop. I find it amazing. We also completed 100% on our BNR wastewater treatment plant. We assisted on Slave Lake disaster. Matter of fact, the mayor got a letter today, I believe, from Katrina.
Yeah.
The mayor of Slave Lake thanking us for helping out on that.
It's on council's desk.
Okay. Okay. And numerous other contracts and projects 2011. So, in conclusion, the things that happened in 2011 were pretty neat. We achieved a lot of things together. Thank you.
Thank you. I would ask that the paper published, both papers have published this up verbatim, because it's not only responsibility of us, but responsibility to the citizens, that they must know what's happening. And I would ask that if this isn't published verbatim as it's presented, we will send a letter via the mayor and council and administration. That's going to be done, okay? And we'll fairly ask that. It's really important to the citizens. We get a lot of questions, and they're not knowing what we did, so this would really enlighten them. So really, really ask, please, publish it all. Good, thank you. Any questions from council? Thank you very much, very good, and thank you, administration, for all your hard work throughout the year.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that all committee reports be accepted as information.
All in favor? Carried. That's it, I'm looking for.
No, your worship, I have one thing.
Questions to administration?
As you know, in Calgary this week, the World Junior Tournament is on, but on top of that, there has been the Midget Tournament, which has been played in by our UFA Bison team, who I am pleased to announce has made it to the final. And although they didn't win, they've been great ambassadors to our town, bringing our town's name to the world. And for their wonderful performance, they went 4-0 in the round robin, and won 2 games in the playoffs, unfortunately losing the final. But I would like to congratulate them for their great effort and for being such good ambassadors to our town.
Are you asking a letter to be sent to them, Councilor Best?
I would very much like to see that happen, your worship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll compose one and send them. Any other questions to Council? Nobody else? Looking for
I would move to adjourn.
invitation to adjourn. All in favor? Any discussion?
Recorded vote.